Hello, Namaste, Sat Sri Akal, good evening. Welcome to the S.S. Chandhok Talk Show. I'm your host and moderator, S.S. Chandhok. Today, we have a very special and eminent guest who are going to speak about the topic necessity of language learning. The first eminent guest we have is Pratima Sharma ma'am.
Namaskar.
She is the principal of Bharatiya Vidya Bhavan's Vidyashram School, Jaipur. We welcome you, ma'am.
Thank you,
Ma'am
sir.
is an educationalist who has an experience of 3 decades, more than 3 decades. Ma'am, welcome to you. Instead of reading, I'll like to know it from your words that how did you came into education and how did you reach to this your Bharatiya Bhavan?
Uh, Good evening, everyone. Happy to be part of this very engaging talk show. And I've been watching it on YouTube. And my compliments to Chandok Saab for initiating this wonderful concept.
Thank you, ma'am.
Well, education happened to me by chance. Like anybody who was fairly good in academics, I am not saying studies, in academics in our country would aspire to be a civil servant. So I was one of the same bandwagon. I did clear my civil service examinations, the prelims and the mains, and as destiny would have it, could not appear for the interview. That was that historic year in which the paper was leaked. And I got married to a banker, happened to start my innings in a lazy, laid back town, Modinagar, got into college teaching, a lecturer with degree college, Guinea Devi PG College. Then the mother in me took over. My son was born and I took a sabbatical of 3 years. Then there was this large question looming large on us, beta kahan padega? So we moved to Meerut and joined Dayavati Modi Academy, Modipuram, DMA 1. And that school has made me what I am today. I learned the tits and bits of schooling from DMA 1, moved on to being the principal. There have been a few changes. I was with the Jaipuria group. Then there was a great experience setting up Pathfinder Global School, Gurgaon, as a founder principal. And then Bhavans happened. So this is a very short story.
That's great, ma'am.
And that's it.
Wonderful, ma'am. Wonderful. You have a experience or great experience also with all the branded schools also. Jaipuria, ma'am, it was Seth Hanram or MR Jaipuria?
So this was Jaipuria Group, Jaipur.
Okay, Jaipuria Group. Right. That's great, ma'am. Right, ma'am. Thank you so much, ma'am, and welcome, ma'am. Next, we have Rajendra Malwal, sir. He is the principal of. Good evening, sir. He is the principal of Bhagwati International Public School, Patan, Gujarat.
Patan.
Sir is Patan, sorry.
Patan, yeah.
Yeah. Sir hails from Uttarakhand and is a postgraduate in English with specialization in American literature. He has been head of English department with prestigious schools of the country like Gyansthali and Birla schools. He has ever served one of the international players in education or Aga Khan Educational Services India, an agency of Aga Khan Development Network, France as a senior school principal, as an instructional leader With fine administrative skills, Sir has left his indelible marks of excellence on all the organizations he has worked with. He has a deep love for children and young people and loves the company of more than anything else. Sir is into the adventure sports also. Sir is into so many associations also. Sir is into, with the so many, that NGOs also. You'll find Sir everywhere when you will talk about Patan. Sir, please let us know about yourself. Last time you told us, please, we'd like to know again, how did this interest in came into you for the adventure sports, and how did you came to this place in Gujarat?
Yeah. Good evening once again, everybody. As you know, I have been basically a product of boarding schools, and in boarding schools, co-curricular activities and sports play an important role. So, and every teacher, and especially every young teacher is assigned certain responsibilities, especially those who are unmarried. So, when I started my teaching career, especially with one of the boarding schools, I was talking with Mr. Singh in Vadodara. I was unmarried, so I was given the responsibility of the students' hostel responsibility, and I was very closely associated with those young students. And during this tour and all, and I was assigned the responsibility, and basically being from Uttarakhand and the hill station of Uttarakhand, so I was given a responsibility to conduct and to explore some possibilities of taking tours to those regions. So I started taking groups of students, and I really feel proud that around my association was around 7 years with that particular school, and during those 7 years, I've taken very big number of students to adventure tours to Uttarakhand, and there the minimum number I remember that was 100 plus. So taking adventure activities, especially adventure tours to hill stations, and especially with school student with such a big number is really very remarkable achievement, I think. And those students also, those who have participated, now they are grown up. Many of them have settled, and almost I feel that more than 50% of them are leading some world class organizations around the world, and they still remember that activity, especially these adventure sports, have played important role in their development. Not only those students, even their parents also remember that those participations have played really remarkable role in developing their personalities and shaping the children as educational leaders or leaders of their business organizations. So I really feel that was the best time even of my own career.
So
So
from
this
there you
was
came to
how it
Gujarat, sir.
started.
So from there you came to Gujarat, sir.
No, it was in Gujarat only, sir.
Okay.
I passed out of my college in '97. For 2 3 years, I worked in some smaller schools of my region, and afterwards I got an opportunity from this particular school to work as a English teacher for secondary section. And since then, there was no turning back, neither in career nor for going back home. So I'm almost settled in Gujarat for 20
Sir,
plus years
sir, we
now.
all are teachers only, sir.
Yeah.
The principal. We had to remain teachers. Thank you so much, sir, and welcome, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank
Next,
you.
we have Dr. Anuradha Bhatia, ma'am. She is the principal of Shivalik International Public School, Ambala, that is in Narayangarh. She is a dedicated, resourceful educational professional with proven ability to create and monitor policies and practices that promotes a safe learning environment. She ensures a school culture that encourages continuous improvement for teachers and students, develop an environment that encourages open communication with colleagues, students, and the community, and monitor educators in the creation and implementation of class instructions, lesson plans, and students' assessments. And her qualification is MSc, MCA, MPhil in Computer Science with a BH. She's in the field of education since 2002, and she has worked with 3 international public schools till now. And she has also, like other all the principals, have been awarded on the national and international levels, as well as you all people are associated with uh, on international and national level. We welcome you, Radha ma'am, and I had been observing
Thank
you
you.
since long in the social media, that you are so active in that, and you had been working in so many associations and all. Please let us know about yourself.
Thank you, sir. First of all, I would like to express my gratitude and thanks to you for making me a part of the forum as well as this important discussion. And I'm basically from Ambala, and I have been working in the education field since last 20 years. And I have already worked in three schools. Firstly, I started my career with the Chaman Vatika International School. It is a residential school, and it is on Ambala Chandigarh Highway. There, I worked for 12 years, and I joined that school as a teacher, and then gradually I was promoted as HOD, house mistress, and other responsibilities were given me. And after that, I joined International School. You might have heard about University
MMU.
also. Yes, and one of the in Sadopur, that Ambala, and there I joined coordinator come vice principal, and there I was given the responsibility of a principal basically. And afterwards, I got the chance to work in Shivaji National Public School. It is in Bangalore, and here I'm working as a principal since 2014. So the idea behind my journey is that I want to make each and every child capable enough for earning a good living, as well as they should become the good citizen of the country. So I work for that, and I practice new implement new plans and policies in the school, and I get the result. And accordingly, like, we are doing our best in this field. So I'm glad to be a part of this forum today.
Thank you, ma'am, and welcome, ma'am.
Thank you,
Next we
sir.
have next we have H. Dumasia, ma'am. She's the principal of Vish Bharati Girls International School, Surat, Gujarat. She is the founder principal of this school since 1st January 2016. She has managed the pre-primaries to class 12, CBSE and GCEB board, and hostel independent managing. She has worked in the Millennium School, Surat, as a coordinator. She has worked 4 years in Shri Vashisht Vidyalaya as headmistress. She has worked 2 years in SDJN as coordinator in primary section, Divine Child High School for 1 year as senior and senior secondary section, 2 years in Scholars English Academy as senior secondary section. Then 3 year managed Khurshid Nursery, that's in Singapore, personally owned. 3 years as teacher in Lawrence Convent in primary section. Ma'am has studied in Lourdes Convent High School, Surat, SSC and HSC from Gujarat Secondary Education, Bachelor's of Commerce. She's has done computer programming for COBOL and C from Apple Industries. She's in Bachelor's of Education also and Masters of Commerce also from Shobit University, Merit. We welcome you, ma'am, and it's pleasure knowing you. Means, ma'am, please tell us about your the school where you have been the founder principal.
First of all, I'm very thankful to all of you to include me in this highly educated group, and I wish we can continue with this coordination and this type of meeting very frequently. In 2016, I was invited by our chairman sir to join them as a principal, and it is as I told earlier also, it's a hostel for girls, and that is a very satisfying job that I am having here, handling the girls in the hostel, meeting, solving their problems, giving them motherly love which they really want. Since till date we are having Gujarat board, I am handling Gujarat board as well as CBSE, and I am very happy to say that we have throughout got 100% result, and I hope that with COVID also, this year also we'll be able to get 100% result.
So, ma'am, just now you were saying that it is a girls' school, but you have started up with boys' schools also. That become co-ed now.
No, it is from the next year. The year is still to end. One more month to go.
I mean, from the new session, you will come up with the
from
boys
the new
also.
session only up till 4th standard, and then we are planning to have a boys' school at just close by to our building.
That will be a separate school then.
It will be a separate school.
Okay, that's great. That's great.
It's a very It's a very challenging thing, seeing the school growing. Seeing in my school seeing the first foundation laid, and then first year, it's very difficult. It being a founder of the school, first year of any school is quite tough. But now the school is settled for the girls, so we are expanding to boys also now. We have already started our college here. So Vishwa Bharati is a CBSE, GSCB college, and now we are going for boys.
That's great, ma'am. That's like quite challenging when you are doing starting up a school. Thank you, ma'am, and welcome, ma'am.
Thank you, sir.
Next, we have Jaswinder Singh, sir. As Rajan sir, you met him somewhere. I also met him in a session where sir was there, and I came to know about his talent. The person who seems to be very simple, he is so highly talented. When I came to know about him, I invited him for the few of the sessions. Sir, please come to us and please, as an expert, please tell us what is this actually, because it is a era of artificial intelligence now, and children need something that should help them to progress and to grow. I won't say much, sir. I'll welcome Jaswinder sir. Jaswinder sir, welcome and thank you so much for coming. Sir,
Thank you, sir.
please let us know about something about yourself and if you want to add up anything.
Yeah, so basically, born and brought up in Ahmedabad, Gujarat. Though my parents are from North, mom is from Delhi and dad is from Amritsar. But I was born in Ahmedabad, and I take Gujarat as my, motherland or whatever you say. Grew up to become, pure science electronics graduate. But somehow I always had an interest of, programming and doing that. Right when I was in 10th standard, when we used to have a computer which was as big as a room, I started learning how to code. And that time it was ORG 310. I'm sure Dumasya ma'am or Anuradha ma'am will relate with this or this thing being from the computer field. But then I always wanted to develop, and I started an IT training company. When we were doing this IT training, I got a project with the government of Gujarat. At that time, Modi ji was the chief minister of Gujarat, and we trained 50,000 government employees of Gujarat. So he found our work to be good, and then he gave us a project. He said, "Go ahead and now train 100,000 people in language skills." And at that time, we were just a company doing IT skills. He said, "You do it," and he also told us, "I will give you the space. I'll give you the students. You get your teachers and train them." We were very happy. Rajendra sir, Dumasya ma'am, you understand. You know Modi sir, how he works. He's a taskmaster. वो डंडा
Yes.
लेके बैठते हैं एवरी सैटरडे कि काम हुआ कि नहीं हुआ. सो वी वर वेरी हैप्पी. 1 लाख बच्चा को अगर पढ़ाना है एंड फीस भी मिल रही है, सारा कुछ मिल रहा है, और एक्सपेंस भी सिर्फ टीचर का है, कुछ नहीं है. बट देन ही पुट इन वन स्पोक. He said, for every one center that you open up in urban Gujarat, you have to open 2 centers in rural Gujarat. And that is where the challenge was. Teachers तो मिल गए, लेकिन रूरल में कोई टीचर नहीं मिलता. So that is where the challenge was. And you know, Modi sir, he will only shoot to kill. He wants his work done. He wants his work done. If he said tomorrow, it should be tomorrow. So we realized that, we will not be able to import teachers into the rural sector. So we thought of working on a software which will help a normal teacher deliver better. And that's how we did. And we excelled in that project. While I was delivering that project, we realized that teaching graduates a new language is more difficult than teaching a child. And language should be acquired while being in school, not when you've completed your school. And that's where we came up with the concept of setting up language labs in school. At that time, there were language labs only in colleges. Anuradha ma'am, I think you have worked with MMU, right? Maulana
Yes,
Markandeshwar. तो वहां पे सारी लैब्स
yes,
मैंने लगाई हैं. 2
that's
school
good.
है और 5 colleges है. But we
College.
realized that college is not the time that you acquire a language. So we started
Hmm.
working, and then we started with the first school in Halol, which is near Baroda. And today we are working with 3,000 schools in India. And around 1 million students use this program to develop their language skills. Now, before NEP 2020 was to be launched, when they were designing it, I was again called up by somebody at the senior most level telling, start making something for Sanskrit. And that's how we developed the first Sanskrit lab of the world. So along with English, we've got Sanskrit and Hindi also. So that's the kind of work that we use. We develop language teaching learning concepts, programs, which teachers used to deliver and students used to practice. So that's the whole point. And it's been 15 years that we've been working on language course, and we're happy at what we're doing. God has been kind, but there's a lot to be done. So that's what we do. Work with schools, work with colleges, work with governments, work with
Hmm.
international schools or schools outside the country, and work on their language skills. So that's what we do, for your information.
Amazing,
Sir, please.
amazing, sir. And let me tell you, sir is the ex-founder director of Design Mate also,
Yeah.
which is now a part of Reliance company. And he's also as we know that he's the founder and CEO of Wordsworth Lab also. Sir has come up with so many languages as of English, Hindi, French, and Sanskrit.
French is yet to
Sans-
come. It will come.
French is yet to come. It's in process, I think. And sir has a vast experience of 32 years. And sir, you told me that you have done a research of 50,000 hours. How
Yeah,
much
so
time
our
you've done?
product is based on research, which is 50,000 man hours. Because you see, when you talk about something which is abstract, language is abstract. It is not like science or like maths that you have a formula. Language, though it has got grammar, but there's a lot of abstract things. So there you need to do a lot of research, what will work, and it's all pedagogical research. We don't
Right.
develop something new which is in language, but we work on pedagogy. What will work? What is more effective? How do we ensure that a dull subject can be made the most exciting and interesting subject? So I would simply say grammar is boring. Yes. But if you listen to grammar with the music in mind, it is not boring. You know, agar koi English mein baat kar raha hai, if they are saying something and suddenly you have a spike, that means there's a grammatical mistake. You may not know what the mistake is, but the spike tells you that there's something wrong. So that's how we've actually working on research, that how do we ensure that we democratize English? That's something that we use. It is for everybody. Language is not the ownership of the rich and the elite. It is the language which is owned by the common person. So every common person should be doing. You know, 15 crore people, 150 crore people learn English language every day in the world. And India has the maximum number of people who speak English, but that is only 10% of India. There's a huge requirement. And yes, it should come down to every individual student. Language, any language it is, it should be acquired properly with interest and available at a very low cost. So that is the whole idea, democratizing language.
Amazing, sir. And you have a very vast experience of 32 years, and you are running this company from last 15 years. Such a lot of research you have done, first on English, then on different subjects. Now you have come on Sanskrit. We'll talk about Sanskrit or lab also in the later part of the
Ji, sir.
show also, sir. Welcome, sir. And
Thank
thank
you
you
so
so
much.
much for coming, sir.
Thank you, sir.
We'll come up to the next round. I won't call it as a question round. I'll call it a suggestion round. We'll come up to Pratima ma'am. Ma'am, we like to know that language learning is the basic necessity for the people to communicate with each other and build relationship. What are your views on this saying?
So when you talk of language learning, it can be any language. Because as human beings who can think, act, and react, have emotions, and there is a need to, exhibit emotions, there is the need of language. And the biggest task of language is to communicate. If I talk in Hindi, तो भाषा का सबसे बड़ा काम संप्रेषण है. So needless to say that it is important to be able to communicate. And yes, language learning, I don't know, I might be kind of sounding a little revolutionary, but the language learning takes place in the big lab called life. And it is the exposure that teaches language. I don't know how is it that a 2-year-old or a 3-year-old, when he starts fumbling, ladki gayi or ladka gaya, how does he learn that? It happens automatically. Ladki gaya does not happen in, northern India. Maybe it happens somewhere in
Bengal.
some part. So I would really do not know. As to, yes, we have an English language lab in our school. So initial 1 or 2 years, there was a lot of euphoria about being able to learn fluency in English through a language lab. But my experience has taught me that the necessity to communicate necessitates that human beings learn language. Now, which language? Why only English? Or for that matter, why only Hindi? It is important to learn language that comes easily. Language that happens to me because of the fact that I am Pratima is my language. Because of the fact that I am originally what I am. And it may not necessarily be English, Hindi, Sanskrit, French, Bengali. Well, it is very challenging. It is also very important that people who cannot speak, they also have a language. So the necessity of human beings to communicate, to empathize, to feel, to say that I care, I love, and so on, is the basic necessity which necessitates that we learn to communicate, maybe English, maybe Hindi, maybe Sanskrit, maybe sign language, maybe the language of touch, maybe a lot of non-verbal communication. We
Yes.
have started, we have over the years now, and more so in the corporate, body language without words. Body language is very aggressive. Oh, he's very docile. Oh, he's submissive. So that is also language. So sometimes, yes, you can communicate through body language also, wherein there are no words. So essentially, Chandhok sir, yes, the necessity of human beings, which is about being heard, about communicating feelings, that is the essence of being able to tell. I wouldn't say being able to speak. I would still say of being able to tell. And hence, language is
Amazing.
important. Over the years, well, sometimes by the fact that a better language is always an added qualification. So schools across the country have made a lot of hue and cry about English speaking, and hence these English language labs. All children speak fluent English. I remember when I was setting up this Pathfinder Global School, if you've heard about this suburb Pataudi in Gurgaon, Pataudi, Saif Ali Khan, Nawab Pataudi, and so on, that place. So it was in the year 2005 when this idea was taking shape. And all of a sudden, people of Gurgaon and surrounding areas had become very rich. So when we were finalizing the fee structure of this school, the chairman of the school would say, "Ma'am, आप English बोलना सिखा दो बस, ये कुछ भी पैसा दे देंगे आपको." And even when I was there, a lot of people around would come and tell me, "Ma'am, ये तो आपकी जीते जी पटौदी चौक में आपकी मूर्ति लगा देंगे, because you've taught their children speak English." So yes, we Indians have a fancy for English, and English, no doubt, is the language of the world. And hence, even if only 10% Indians speak English, I am sure, I'm convinced we speak the best language in the world.
Amazing,
True, ma'am.
ma'am.
True.
Amazing. True.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Rajan sir,
Yes.
your views on this topic, sir.
Sir, I think ma'am has quite spoken quite elaborately, and I agree that it is really very important. English, especially when we talk about language development, basically it is at schools in India, it is taken as if it is development of English language only. So, but being educators, we should not restrict, and neither we are restricted when we talk about language development. It may be any language, be it Hindi, Gujarati, or whichever language children speak at home. And English, as ma'am said, it is an additional advantage. As ma'am was talking about her school experiences when she was setting up a school there, and what chairman said. Similarly, I remember one of the anecdote of the incident. Once one parent visited. He was basically an NRG, non-Gujarati, non-resident Gujarati settled in USA. He said, "Sir, आप अमेरिका चलो और आपकी तरह इंग्लिश मुझे आती तो शायद मैं आधा अमेरिका खरीद लेता." So this is the importance of English language, and language, I feel, as Madam was sharing, like we compare development in physical development, then we consider human development in the parameters of maturity, sometimes like adolescent, childhood, and infant. So same way, I feel that even language can be a measurement of one's growth and development. If you see that major development in language, basically there are three functions and which decide that how the level of language is growing, or how we are improving the utility or maybe the quality of language. One can be like informative, just to begin with. So when we are at the base root or the lower level of language development that can be simply using language for information. Then second level of language development, that is called using language for expressing ourselves, which basically is very important, which is basically done at school level. And then the third level of language development, and which requires mastery, is use of language for giving directions or the expressing the directive functions of language. So there are different regions, but in all regions, all purposes, whatever be the purpose of language, it is really very important. So I feel that we should uh, groom our children to use language, especially proper use of language, starting with mother language. Then we can go for second language and third language. As English, I feel that is one of the important languages, one of the international languages, and which is basically, I think, is taught almost in all the schools, especially in English medium school. Once children join English medium school, one of the advantages or one of the basic reason for sending children to our schools, especially the schools which use CBSE title or international school, is basic reason for teaching them use of English language. So I'm sure that it is one of the major responsibility of all of us as educators, school heads or school owners or sponsors, to promote languages and especially English language.
Amazing, sir. Wonderful,
So
wonderful.
yeah,
Thank you so much,
डॉक्टर
sir. Thank
साहब
you.
एक बात कहना चाहूंगी
जी
जी
कि
मैम,
कितनी सारी दास्तानें मोहब्बत की इसीलिए अधूरी रह गई कि वो एक बात, those three magical words could not be uttered.
yeah.
So it
And
is very, very important to be able to communicate.
express and
Yes.
communicate.
जी.
of course,
so
ma'am.
with this, I think that shows, that talks about the importance of language.
Yes, sir.
That's
Yes,
it.
sir. That's it, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Next, we'll come up to another ma'am. Ma'am, we like to know your views on the saying that language learning is an active process that begins at birth and continues throughout the life.
Yeah, rightly, you have said very rightly. Language, everyone has already spoken the importance of the language. When we are good at language, then we can easily converse whatever is there in our mind. So if we want to express our mind, we need to know a language, right? And if we talk about learning a language, basically it starts from our childhood. When a child takes birth, automatically the language learning starts, because he or she just find out, like whosoever is nearby, they use symbolic language, they create different kind of sounds, and the child starts following that sounds, as well as the child starts responding towards that sound. So like basically the learning starts from that point only. And in fact, when the child goes to the school in the early years of the schooling, when the formal education starts, then the child starts learning different alphabets, different phonetic sounds, as well as different words, and then sentence formation. And gradually, the vocabulary also increases. So this is a continuous process and it keeps on moving. And as adult also, I feel like as the word is changing, the same way the language is also getting changed every day. The some new words are coming up, and sometimes different kind of pronunciation is also coming up. Sometimes, like earlier, some words were having different meaning, but now we use the same word with entirely different meaning. And sometimes the pronunciation also, earlier we used to pronounce the words with a different manner, but nowadays we are pronouncing the same words but with different kind of different kind of syntax,
Pronunciation.
kind of like the words we are using with the different meaning as well as the different sounds. So these kind of changes are coming with the generation by generation, the language is getting changed and so many changes are coming up. So as an adult also, we need to improvise ourselves, as well as we need to upgrade our linguistic skills as well, to be at par with the society. If we see young generation, they use different kind of slangs, also different kind of new words. Like if I talk about in Hindi, like we have learned brotherhood for bhaichara. There's a word bhaichara, and we used to learn brotherhood for that word. But nowadays, the different word is there, that is bromance. So now the young generation is using different kind of words. So to live with the young generation, we need to upgrade our linguistic skills, and that is the need of our. So according to me, the linguistic skills, the language learning, it and it starts from the birth and it continues till. So I
Amazing.
totally agree.
Wonderful. 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 Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. We'll come up to Dhamasya, ma'am. Dhamasya, ma'am, please tell us your views on the saying that language learning is a lifelong process.
So it's a lifelong process. It is very important for communication, as Pratima ma'am and Rajendra sir has said. But I would just like to put into this language is, I think when a child is born, the child learns how to speak. But it is not only speaking. For thinking also we need a language. How do we think without a language? What actions we will be taking? We have to think. And of course, it is very important to maintain a relationship. We have to talk. For communication, of course, this language is important. But any decisions which we take, that also is in a language. We are thinking, we are analyzing. All these things are done through the language itself. So I think mother tongue is very important. But at the same time as it's done, English is equally important for us to grow in these days, at least especially in our field. And if you want to prosper, we need a language for that.
Obviously, ma'am.
How do we interact with one another? How do we state our problems? How do we feel? All these things we need to put forward, and for that we need to say. For that, what we are feeling also, we are sad or whatever we are at that time, we are thinking, we are happy, we are thinking at that time. That part is also done through language.
Yeah.
So language is required, whether it is Hindi or Gujarati or English or Bengali or whatever. It has to be there. And it starts from birth and it grows, and then it's a lifelong process. Suppose if I'm moving from Gujarat to I'm moving to suppose South India, I need to know a little bit of their language also, just to interact. Otherwise, I'll not be able to say anything. I'll be somebody from outside. You cannot live without interacting or communicating. At the same time, I have to maintain relations. I have to make new relations. If I want to make new relations, I have to talk to them. How will I talk if I cannot speak their language?
So, like we can say that if you want to enter into someone's heart, you should know his language. Once you know his
Yes, up to a
language,
certain extent,
you will
yes.
you will be able to communicate as well as you can get your work done also.
Of
Absolutely
course.
right. Absolutely right, ma'am. Thank you so much, Namaste, ma'am. Jaswinder sir will come up to you as you have heard all the eminent guests as an expert. Please, if you want to add up into whatever all the speakers said, as well as please let us know about your lab, how it helps the teacher. Because, sir, when we are talking about language learning, we are talking about all the schools in the country, maybe in the rural area or urban area, how it helps all the level teachers.
Yeah. So if I have to put up one thing, language is something which has made us humans.
Yes,
Without
exactly.
language, we were Homo sapiens. With the language, we become humans. See, the difference between us and animals is that they do have a language, but that is not that distinctly clear. So the whole part is language is something which has brought history to us. Earlier, when people were not able to write, things were handed down from one generation to the other generation. That was language which was used. And then language was first spoken, then the written part came in when they started writing, inscribing it on stone and then on paper and all that. So language, yes, very, very important part. But let's understand certain things, because today in our sessions, we are discussing about various languages. So putting English aside for the time being, let us understand one very important thing, that a child till the age of 8 can easily acquire up to 5 languages, right? That is why NEP 2020 today talks about the 3 language formula. It does not mean, okay, so let's clear something. We say that initial years, the teaching should be in the local language. Yes, it should be. Your core subjects, mathematics and science, should be in the local language, but that does not mean you don't expose them to English till standard 5. You can expose them to 3 languages right from the beginning. So one more thing, if we use more than one language, more than 3 languages, our brain works better, the neurons work better. So a student, a learner, a person, if he or she speaks 3 or more languages, they seem to be more intelligent. One, that's important, that the brain works better. Second, if I speak more languages, I will learn, I will understand, I will be exposed to more cultures. And India is a land of cultures. We become better humans if we understand each other's cultures. We will learn to coexist, and we are the only country in the world with so many languages and so many cultures. Why? Because we respect each other's languages. Am I right? In the other countries, if you do not speak their language, they throw you out. In India, if you meet somebody, say if I meet somebody who's Bengali, I'm going to ask them, Kemo nache? Right? So when I met the moment Rajendra sir came in, I said, Kemcho sir. Why did I do that? Because I wanted to have a connect. So Indians are the only people who understand the value of language, and that is why we are a land of languages. That's an important. So language acquisition should be the most important thing right from the beginning. Let me tell you one thing. We have all heard of IMS, right? There's IMS college in Hyderabad. Very, it's an elite place to do your MBS post IIM. They are coming up with a school in Gurgaon, and you know what they're going to do?
Sir, I'm sure you're talking about ISB, not
Sorry,
ISB.
ISB. I'm so sorry, ISB. I'm sorry, ISB. So ISB is coming up with a school in Gurgaon, and you know, ma'am, what they're planning to do? First 4 years, only languages and mathematics, nothing else. So we are consulting them and getting that initial years, if the numeracy and literacy become strong, anything can be acquired later on. So the most important part is when you want your students to acquire more languages, make languages palatable, make them interesting, expose them to situations. Ma'am, Pratima ma'am, you did talk about it. The biggest lab is the
Life.
world. So how do you communicate? So let me tell you, why is it that students from English medium schools are not able to communicate properly? Because we are not English medium schools. We are English instruction schools. Only the teacher talks in English. Students just listen to them. Now tell me, in an entire day, if I am a student and if all of you are my teachers, how many sentences will I use to communicate with all of you? Not more than 10. But with my friend, I communicate using 200 sentences. लेकिन ये तो मेरा दोस्त है, मैं तो हिंदी में बात करूंगा. Now, if you want to see to it that, suppose we take English, you want to see that they are good at English, make them communicate amongst themselves in English. If you want to teach them Japanese, make them communicate in Japanese, because that is how you acquire languages, through situations, through context, through scenarios. And that is what we do. So when we talk about a language lab, the work of a language lab is to create that scenario artificially so that they can do it, because you are not able to expose them to the world. So the purpose of a language lab is not infrastructure and soundproof rooms and those small
headphones.
It is something that they listen to something, they look at that situation, they communicate, right? And they become confident. So what should be language learning? Should be in a blended way, where the teacher creates an environment using something or the other and makes them communicate if they were in such a situation. I tell you, if you want to teach two people, if you want me to learn Sanskrit and you want somebody else to learn English, put a Sanskrit Babu and me in one room and ask us to be in that room for 5 days. When I come out, I'll be speaking in Sanskrit. When he comes out, he'll be speaking in English.
But I'm sure you'll forget English.
So the whole point was that humans cannot stay without communicating. We will automatically learn to adapt to each other's languages. And that's what a language lab does. It is not that age-old thing where you listen to some recording and feel good about it. No. The initial part is, there's a framework known as CEFR, Common European Framework of Reference, which says any European language, when you want to acquire, there are 6 levels: A1, A2, B1, B2, C1, C2. So the initial A1, A2 levels are the level where you learn how to communicate with 108 situations. Language situation, जब हम छोटे थे, हम situation से ही तो बोलना सीखे. Now let me tell you one thing, except teachers who are, principals who are language teachers. हम चलो हिंदी की बात करते हैं, हम सब हिंदी में बात करते हैं, हमें हिंदी का कितना व्याकरण आता है? You don't need to know व्याकरण to be able to communicate in Hindi. So if you listen well, if you are exposed to a situation, you can communicate well. Absolutely. That is the first level. Then you go on to polishing your language, that when you learn about thought groups, you learn about intonation, you learn about modulation, you learn about syllables, you learn about all that, and that's how you break into that. So the whole idea of language acquisition using technology is to know how, which path to go, to keep practicing, because there are two things: mathematics and language both need usage, both need a lot of practice. So because a
Practice.
teacher can't give entire time to each and every child, the computer, the software works as a teacher. It is a teacher who's multiplied into 40 times. It's a teacher who works with each child the same time. So language lab will not teach, will enable learning. That's what we talk about. So it's all about how to go about. But why are language labs so popular now? Because my major problem that I've seen, we do not have good language teachers, right?
Mhm.
So a lot of schools, I tell them, you will never be able to import a teacher. You have to develop whosoever you have. So if you want to develop your teachers, expose them to tools, ask them to use these tools, and slowly when you teach, you learn better. Am I right? When we did a B.Ed, कुछ नहीं समझ आया, जब पढ़ाने लगे सारा कुछ समझ आ गया. Am I right? So those are
Exposure.
when, yeah. So that when you go and expose yourself in a situation, do it. So that is what a language lab is supposed to do. Nothing else. It is not just a pair of headphones and a recorder. It is a lot more, and that's what we talk about in this. Sorry. So
Absolute,
that's what works onto this. Yes, sir.
absolutely right, sir. And I must say that the schools are running, or the parents are running for the subjects. He should know maths, he should know science, he should know SST, but they are not looking into the basic thing, that is the language learning. If there's a proper language learning, every subject can be done very properly. Everything can be done properly. Like we talk about that, I see class grade 12 students, they don't know how to handle their pen properly, and they have so bad handwriting. People spend lakh of rupees for their child for the studies and all, but they never spend some money for handwriting. It is just like the same, that people are not working on their language, they are working on the subjects. When you are not doing the basic, how can you come up to the subjects? So language learning is so important. This is the reason why we have invited sir, and we took up this topic of language learning, and we call Jaswinder sir to please open up the eyes. Even I was also not very aware. He gave me some time. He told me this is the the truth of language learning. It's just like he said कि कान में वो लगा लिया और हेडफोन में चीजें सुनने का आपको थोड़ा समझ में आएगा, वो सुन के आपको याद कर लेना इंग्लिश. नो, लैंग्वेज लर्निंग इज लैंग्वेज लर्निंग लाइक वी से मेनी ए टाइम्स कि स्कूल में टीचर नहीं है इंग्लिश का, तो किसी टीचर को भी इंग्लिश दे दो. So that is also a very, very wrong thing which people do in small cities. In small cities, they do it. In thousands of schools, they do it like this. Because when you are doing this, compromising this, there'll be no learning. And every school is running for the result. How will you really get the result if language learning is not proper? Thank you, Jaswinder sir.
Thank you.
You have opened our eyes actually when you're talking about all these things. You open our eyes. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
We come up to the next round. Pratibha ma'am, we like to know your view on the saying that appropriate language learning strategies result in improved proficiency and greater self-confidence. Ma'am, we want very short answer. We say that there are 3 or 4 children in the 40s who are the toppers. The rest are not the toppers. Every child, but at the very same time, we say that every child is born up with the same mind, same mental level, but there's a difference. Please, your views on this.
See, sir, appropriate language learning strategies enhance confidence is your question, right, sir? And enhance the learning outcomes also in general. Well, sir, there's a lot of talk about language learning strategies. As Jaswinder sir rightly mentioned, that it is not that we teach grammar initially at the outset. It is we expose the child to different, situations. The child interprets, and we don't, yes, we all speak Hindi, but we may not be very conversant with Hindi grammar. And it's like acquired by exposure, and we understand the right ways of speaking and so on. Well, clearly, if our language is good, we are confident, and we are not cutting corners even in our answers very often, And CBSE in subjects like which are descriptive subjects like business studies, economics, history. In fact, most of the subjects related to fine arts and humanities, which are not exact sciences, it is the expression which becomes very, very important. Because maybe in mathematics, 2 plus 2 will always be 4. But there can be a historian who can make Akbar look more great than what he actually was. And that's it. So in a lot of, subjects which where expression is very important, language learning strategies are important, and a good language definitely makes us confident. Well, there's another thing that I would like to emphasize about knowing a thing and making the world know that you know a thing is also very important. You may be knowing a certain thing, but if you've not been able to tell the world that you know, then your knowledge holds no value. I'm sorry, I'm being very strict in using this word. Your knowledge holds no value. आप अपने आप में कितने भी महान हो, that makes no difference. I must be able to make this world a better place by my knowledge, by my, being what I am. And therein language plays a very, very important part.
Amazing, ma'am.
It is
Amazing,
important
ma'am.
to be very confident. In that case, I'm not trying to admonish anybody whose language may not be very good. But then there is one very important aspect. I really do not know if quite a few of you would agree with me or not. We have heard about Gardner's multiple intelligences. A child being born with linguistic aptitude, a certain area of the brain being more, fertile, and the child being good in languages. I have also experienced this because maybe grammar may be something which is mathematics in language, but thinking is about expression. And if your expression is good, if your thought process is rich, and a person who is good at Hindi, I've seen, is also good at English. A person who's good at English is also good at Hindi. So I really do not know if if language learning strategies is something which is foolproof all the time. It is also very often that by one's own intrinsic, circuit in the brain, and by Gardner's theory of multiple intelligences, a lot of people have an inherent edge in speaking.
Amazing, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much, ma'am.
And Chandok, one thing
yes,
I would further like to continue here is, yes, languages and maths are the basic necessities of elementary education. And that is why the new education policy pays so much of emphasis on the fact that elementary education has to be in mother tongue. Because the ability to analyze, critically absorb, comprehend is very, very important, which has to be developed at an early stage. We know that the maximum development of the brain takes place in the first 5 years of life. Thank you.
Amazing, ma'am. Such a wonderful experience, and your views are. Rajendra sir, please add up your views on this topic.
Yes, sir. As you said that especially the right methodology of learning any language or not only language, any skill improves the confidence level. In simple words, also, if you see how the right approach or the strategy improves our confidence level, because when we adopt a right policy, right method of learning anything, our half of the energy is saved. The energy is not wasted, and the confidence level is improved. And secondly, if you see that there are two types of nature, especially among students or in human beings, introvert and extrovert. Introvert are the people those who interact less, and extrovert people are the ones who are interacting more, and interacting more because of one reason, that is they have a strong language control or language command, and secondly they are confident. Now as ma'am has already elaborately discussed, and even Mr. Singh was discussing that how language should be learned, and I feel, and even I back with Madam Sharma what she said, that language should be taught the way the mother tongue, especially the mother tongue, is taught. If you see that other than mother tongue, the way we are teaching our students language, and when we talk again, as we said, language is often considered teaching English language. Even if you see that how English language is taught and how mother tongue is taught, both the methodologies are different. In language learn, especially in case of mother tongue, what do? We learn speaking first, and whereas in case of second language or the English language, we learn writing. We emphasize on writing, giving the written knowledge first. So if we improve this methodology, I feel that the method of learning language will become easier. And secondly, if as even earlier speakers have already said, that emphasis on too much of grammar has to be reduced, and I feel that even as NEP is recommending that children should be taught up to class 5, or especially in elementary level in mother tongue, of course they should be taught in that, but in addition to that, language, other languages, especially English, should be taught, but it should be with reduced burden. Reduced burden means they should, when we are introducing English in that classes, it should be introduced in a very mild and very soft and very delicate method, without letting students know the burden of learning. And that will only happen when we do not be too much fussy about grammar, article, pronoun, relative conjunctions, this, that, and many of these things even I do not know today. So I feel that we should not get our students trapped among those difficult words, and if we teach language that way, I'm sure that we will be able to teach better language. We'll be able to make our students have a strong command. Not only that, with that, even they will have strong and bigger and better confidence, and this I feel that will only help them. As again Mrs. Sharma said, that many a time that students, it is not that what we know, it is that how we are able to let people know what we know matters more, and this will only happen when our children have a stronger command in language. And these days, even in competitive exams, be it any examinations, we are talking about examination reform and all, they are all language centered. If you are good at language, whatever medium you have chosen, I'm sure that you will be able to do better in spite of your lack of that subject command. And many of time you may have greater knowledge in subject, but you are unable to speak, you are unable to write, you will not be able to clear, or you will not be able to pass those examinations. So many a time our students, those who succeed in examination, they are not very extraordinary student. Many a time they are the student those who are good at language, and I have been one of them. So with this, I would like to conclude, and thank you very much.
Wonderful, sir. Wonderful. Wonderful. I mean, amazing. Your thoughts were so amazing.
Thank you,
You know,
sir.
you brought out the gist of language learning over here, sir. That's great. That's being a good English teacher. Because we can say in short that we have to move from rote learning to critical thinking, instead of, letting the students learn all the grammar, do this and idioms and phrases and this and this.
Yeah,
Instead, we
they
should go
get
on
trapped
critical.
into that, sir, and then what happens? They many a time they lose interest in learning also. So I tell my teachers that don't trap them, and even in assessment also, don't ask what is conjunction, what is grammar, this and that. You test grammar through some interesting, test their knowledge through interesting methods. Maybe even the purpose may be testing their grammar, but don't ask simply directly asking or hitting those questions on their head.
Definitions are
Instead,
redundant, sir.
Yes, yes.
It's the
yeah,
application which is important.
yeah, application,
Right.
based on application, that knowledge can be
Yeah,
checked.
yeah. So what they say is grammar should not be taught in isolation. One.
Yeah,
Second,
Mm.
it should be grammar in use, not grammar by definition. And
yes,
let
sir.
me tell you one thing, ma'am, sir, ladies, there is a book of more than 100 pages only talking about articles. Can you imagine that? 3 articles and 100 pages? There are more exceptions than rules. So it is a dreadful thing, a dreadful journey. I have taken interviews of so many people who are MA'd, right? Who are MA in English. Their grammar is fantabulous, but when the moment they open their mouth, everything is gone. So what we need to do is to be able to master communication rather than the
Communication
formula.
skills, yes.
Please,
Hmm.
please, please.
Unless or until we are going to prepare them for English teaching or
But
the
even then, you
language
don't need it,
teachers.
sir. Now, like
And sir,
Pratima
English
ma'am
is
said,
communicative.
yeah, it's all
Yeah.
communicative now.
That is what CBSE has been trying to do all these years.
Hmm.
That's another debate, sir, Chandok sir, some other time.
Yes,
That
ma'am,
whether the beauty
that's a
of the
topic.
language should be kept intact or not.
This is what we through these shows we want to bring up the awareness of language learning to the people, to the society, to the schools, to the management, to the principals, that how important language learning is. Like, I also had a concept what type of this lab is, what they might be doing. वो तो कान में लगा के कुछ ना कुछ सुनते रहते होंगे. But when I came to actuality, so I said, if I am thinking about this, what about the people? So people should know this. Thank you so much, man. Thank you, Jaswinder sir. Thank you, Rajendra sir.
Thank you, sir.
We'll come up to Anuradha ma'am. Anuradha ma'am, do you believe that language learning enhances multiple skills? Can you discuss one or two of them in precise, very short?
Yeah, I really believe that language learning enhances the skills, and it is scientifically proven also now. If a person learns a language, then the brain remains in a good shape. If we learn a language, then it increases our cognitive skills as well as it increases our memory skills, and it the confidence also. And concentration power in the children, it also get increases, as well as the child becomes multitasker if he is if he is a master of a language. So learning a language is very, very important. Now, let me take one example. As we are talking about here, problem solving skills, how the language is helping in problem solving skills. Whenever we get a problem, the first thing is that how we can solve that problem. First thing, we have to become very active listener. We have to understand the problem, and for understanding, we have to listen to the problem very carefully. And if I talk about language learning, then the first skill which we learn in language learning is the listening skill. There are basically four skills which we learn when we learn a language. That is, everyone knows, that is listening, speaking, reading, and writing. When a person masters the listening skill, then definitely he will be able to understand the problem in the better manner, and the problem solving skill definitely will increase. Now, if I talk about the creative thinking skills, critical thinking or creative thinking skills, if I talk about, like as I told earlier also, that language help us to speak our mind. If we are good at language, if our vocabulary is strong enough, then whatever ideas are coming in the mind, we are able to express that ideas very effectively, very nicely, in very different ways, the ways it is required. So according to me, the if the person learns the language, then automatically these skills are also getting increased. Either it is a critical thinking skill or it is a problem solving skill. So both the skills will definitely get increased if the language is done in the proper.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. We'll come up to Dhamasya, ma'am. Ma'am, please, you also tell your views on the saying that language learning enhances multiple skills.
Yes, sir, I completely agree with Anuradha ma'am regarding the multitasking skills. But one point which I really liked about Rajendra sir was do not burden the children with hard words. Instead of burdening them with hard words, give them more quantity words to learn, to understand and learn. If they know many words, it will help them to enhance themselves in many ways. Like let's take, they have to express themselves. That time also they need more words, different words to express. If they don't have many words, they'll not be able to express. Plus, if you want to see, if you see that memory function also, I want to add to Anuradha ma'am, memory function also is benefited with the language. They will be, if they know more words, they will be able to remember and retain the memory short term or long term in a very comfortable manner. Plus, their performance will also benefit the same way. If the creative skill, of course, it will benefit. Instead of hard words, using hard words, it is better they have number of words, synonyms or something, where they can express themselves and be more creative in what they want to do. So that's what I want to say. Learning skill means language learning certainly enhances the multiple skills of a child. Thank you, sir.
Amazing, ma'am. Amazing. Thank you so much. Jaswinder sir, will come up to you. your views on the saying, whatever the eminent guests have said, and please let us know about the Sanskrit lab.
Okay. So one important thing, I'll just sum up what the principals have said. Yes, language learning should be the most interesting thing. I keep telling teachers. We've worked on a product where we start teaching English to young kids. There's a program known as Young Learners, which Cambridge has. So we support them using our software. So I tell teachers that while teaching, in a software, we put in music. Why music? I say the teacher should keep dancing while teaching. And the teachers ask me, Jaswinder, now you're going to make us dance? I said, ma'am, you have to be a child to teach a child, right? If you become a child, you will deliver it like a child, and the child will absorb it like a child. So, that age, language learning, like Rajendra sir said, should be as simple and easy. We don't need Shashi Tharoors. He's excellent, but I should be able to understand what he says. Language is to communicate my thoughts, not to show that I know. Right? A
Yes.
lot of teachers, what they do is they tell that this is what I know. No, please tell them what to know, how to know. So language should be taught in the most lucid manner, and the best way is to expose them to day-to-day situations, something that you're going to use every day. But one more important thing is, yes, we do talk that it has to be LSRW, listening, speaking, reading, writing. But please, as educators, focus that our students today are not reading as much as they should be reading. And reading
Absolutely.
has become a big challenge. Even if you
Mhm.
look at NEP 2020, it talks about research-based learning. Yes, there's a lot of matter out there on the internet, but you need to read. So inculcating good reading habits right from the beginning. If I were to be a parent once again, if I go young, now I've got my kids who are grown, son married, daughter's almost marriageable age, but I would say the best way to inculcate good reading habits is to keep your child in your lap and read a book to yourself or him.
Read along.
Read along.
Mhm.
Because I say the best laptop is the mother's lap. बच्चा सबसे ज्यादा अपनी माँ की गोद में ही सीखता है, कोक में भी सीखता है, गोद में भी सीखता है. So mothers, though fathers should do the same, but you read, you form a habit of reading, and if your child reads, he will always excel in life. Academics, yes or no, is a different point, but excelling in life, reading habits are good. वो कहते हैं ना, अगर बेटी देनी है तो ऐसे घर में दो जहां पे एक पुस्तकालय हो. So you will have wise people, and you can travel the world without moving out of your library if you read. So these are the things that I would always say that make language learning very simple, very easy, enjoyable, lovable, comfortable. But always make sure that the child, your students, read, at least read one book every month. They should be in your report card, a point. How many books did this guy read? And then ask them to make their own version. Language is acquired in various ways, while listening, while reading, while speaking. Everything happens that way. And that is exactly what we need to work on. And that's what I would say is when we talk about language learning and what the other eminent panelists have said. Now, talking about Sanskrit. So let me tell you one thing. In Gujarat, Sanskrit is a compulsory subject in 8th, ninth, and it's an optional subject in 10th standard. Right? It's compulsory from 6th, 7th, 8th, ninth, but 10th it's optional. And we used to, pray to God, jaldi 10th aa jaye, Sanskrit nikal jaye. Bahut maar khai. We never used to enjoy it. But later on, when we were supposed to develop this, and when the team was working on, and I would sit with them to understand, I've realized that Sanskrit is one of the most logical and perfect language in the world. That is why they say if you want to become a coder, if you want to do IT, you want to do development, go learn Sanskrit first. Why? Everything there is systematic. I'll tell you, if there's a word in Sanskrit, the spellings, the letters are arranged logically. There's a reason why after pa there's ka and after ka there's sha. There's a reason for that. And you know what? The grammar, very simple. You don't have a sentence construction format at all. Let me give you an example, everybody. If I have to say that my name is Jaswinder, how would I say in Sanskrit? Mama nama Jaswindara. But if I say Jaswinder Mama Nama, that's correct. Nama Mama Jaswinder, Jaswinder Nama Mama, everything is correct because it allows you to do that. So this is what we say is that language, if you go a little bit deeper, if you look at the beauty of that language, it is no longer a burden. So when we talk about languages, whether it's Sanskrit, whether it's French, whether it's Hindi, Punjabi, Bengali, Gujarati, any language, bring the essence of language to the students. Let them know the nitty-gritties, which are those simple things which make it interesting. And language can be acquired only if you love it. So we say for the love of language. If you start loving language, you will do it. And I also would like to add one thing. I tell a lot of language teachers, you're teaching a boring subject that's according to you, do one thing. Let your kids love you. If you love you, they will do good in their subjects. You can all remember Pratima ma'am, Domasya ma'am, Anuradha ma'am, Rajendra sir. If you remember your school days, you did well in those subjects whose teacher you used to love and like. So do that. Language can be acquired in various ways. That is what needs to be done. Today, teaching has to be done with love, not with formulas, not with definitions, not with that. And especially when it comes to English. अब बच्चे के सिर पे हाथ रख दो and whatever you say, that purely they understand. There's a connect that you do. So language needs to connect to souls. You need to connect into their heart because language is never from the brain, it is from the heart. And use your heart while teaching language, they will acquire it. And that's what we started working when we were working on Sanskrit. And we realized it has become so simple that even a Hindi teacher can start teaching Sanskrit. So it's all about love. It's all about emotions. Language is what? Is to tell
Emotions.
you what I feel. It's emotions. And
Language is
emotions. And you just give a definition to emotion. That's language. So I would say, make it lucid, make it simple, make it lovable, make it enjoyable, and have fun and frolic. And I can ask you, please ask your teachers, kindergarten teachers, primary teachers, to start dancing. So you keep doing this, and the kids doing that, and when they dance with you, you know what happens? A channel is formed, and whatever you say straight goes in. No other disturbance will come and interfere them. That's what I say when we talk about language acquisition, whether it's French, whether it's Sanskrit, whether it's English or any other language. And one more thing I would like to conclude. When you learn a language, a new language, you make 100 new friends, and the world needs more friends. The world needs more friends. We need to coexist and love somebody else by loving their language. You will not lose, you will only gain. So I have this thing in my house. Everybody should speak 5 languages. And that's how life will become enjoyable. Thank you, sir.
Punjabi, Gujarati, these two
Tamil,
languages.
Tamil.
These two languages come automatically to you.
Tamil, ma'am. My wife is Gujarati from Tamil Nadu.
So Punjabi, Gujarati, Tamil, these three languages
Tamil में मैंने गालियां खाई हैं, सिर्फ गालियां खाई हैं.
They come automatically to you.
हाँ जी.
English, Hindi, you being an Indian, so no, I mean it's okay, sir.
Yeah, that's how it is.
That's
you
how
speak
it
more
is.
language.
5 languages.
You speak more languages. बहुत मजा आता है. Believe me, ma'am, I am a person who was into coding, programming, and I was working for Microsoft as a trainer across the Asian countries. But what made my life is my love for language.
I know, actually, and then Sanskrit is the most computer-friendly language in the world.
Exactly. It is a logical language, ma'am.
It's a logical language.
So we can also say that, sir, that in pre-primary only we don't have playway method. Playway method should be the entire schooling at least from PG to class 12. We should make the class interesting. The children should not feel burdened, but they should enjoy the class. Once they will enjoy the class, they won't take it as a subject. They will take it as an enjoyment. That is for sure. Thank you so much, Jaswinder sir, for letting us with the language learning. And you have opened our eyes regarding the language learning, which is the base. Now we can sum up with this, that language learning is more important before learning any of the subjects. Now coming up to the last part of the show, a very surprise 5 to 10 minutes, that every speaker present over has to sing 2 lines. It may be, yes, ma'am, you have to sing 2 lines. You are the senior most, Pratima ma'am, and a talented one.
Sir, my husband would sing in the background. And
That
then
day, that day we had sir from Jammu. He's the Saudi president from Jammu, Pramod Srivastava sir. He and his wife sang together.
Yes, they did.
They did, sir.
Pankaj sir,
आ जाओ.
आ जाओ.
please come and
Women's
sing
Day.
with me.
He better
मैं
take.
आपको एक बात अपनी कहनी चाहूंगी, गा के तो पता नहीं इतना कह पाऊंगी या नहीं. एक मिनट में जरा म्यूट करके अपने पतिदेव को बुला लूं, वो गा लेंगे.
और मैम,
पंकज सर,
और एक बात ये भी है, when you go for टीचर्स डे और चिल्ड्रंस डे, when you push up your teachers and say आपको ये परफॉर्म करना है, तो सर, तो मैम, you have to have that
I
karma.
can
You also
always
have to-
dance but not sing. But yes, one thing
Man-
that I would like to say, conclude, गा के बोलूं या बिना गाए बोलूं,
गा के मैम.
बच्चों की मिट्टी सनी शरारतों से तेरी महक आती है, जिंदगी तो कहाँ कहाँ छिप जाती है.
Very good, very good.
जसिंदर सर की बात पे ये बात मुझे याद आई.
Ma'am,
Thank you.
ma'am, Pratima ma'am, by the time we come back, you mute yourself and call your husband. Sir,
I'll call Mr. Sharma.
Mr. Sharma.
He
By
sings
the
very
time,
well.
by the time we'll come up to Rajendra sir, it's a woman's day today. All the women should sing. Namaste, ma'am. You will start, or ma'am, you will start another ma'am.
Give me a song to sing first.
Ma'am, you can go for original. If you will sing in Gujarati, I'll be humble.
Sir,
Gujarati
I'm a Parsi. If I speak Gujarati, you'll start laughing.
But ma'am,
So,
Parsi
ठीक है.
Gujaratis are beautiful. I've got a place, a house in Navsari only to be close to Parsis. Lovable people, fantastic people. Saraprit sir, Parsi लोगों का जो खुला दिल होता है ना, the way they talk, they're beautiful. So ma'am,
Really true, really true. And madam is not an exception.
yes.
So ma'am will sing a song. Two
Yeah.
lines only, ma'am. We won't go for 3 lines, only 2 lines. Ma'am,
So
Mr.
I'll
Shar,
not go for Gujarati.
Ma'am,
I'll
please-
just go. I'll not go for Gujarati. I'll just go for a prayer, which has really. It's very. I really like this very much. I follow it also, and I pray to God for the same thing. इतनी शक्ति हमें दे न दाता, मन का विश्वास कमजोर होना. And I've followed this throughout my life, and I've prayed for God for this. Thank you. Rajendra sir, I think it's your turn because I have never heard you singing.
I never sing, ma'am. I never sing.
nobody sings
So
here, ma'am.
I'll request if I can be exempted.
Sir, no exemptions over here. You are in the examination and you have to give an exam. By the time
Okay.
another ma'am will sing, because it's Women's Day today, so another ma'am will sing first.
See, I'll not sing as it is Women Day. I have written a short poem on that, so I can recite that
Okay.
poem. So this poem is for all the women around. Dear women, fight to rise from your ashes. Fight to rise from your ashes. You are strong. You are you are beautiful. You deserve to bloom again. You deserve to love again. So fight, get up, rise. Just fight to rise from your ashes. Thank you and have a happy Women's Day.
So nice, ma'am.
Rajendra sir,
Wonderful, ma'am. You could have just sang this poem.
Okay, sir,
Rajendra sir.
I'll just, I recall one similar incident when on Teachers' Day, on the occasion of Teachers' Day, I was compelled to sing. So I just remembered a poem which was in class
No,
7th
no,
book,
sir,
and
no.
just out of compulsion,
Sir.
I sang that.
Sir,
So I'll
sir,
repeat
sir.
that.
No, sir. It's a Women's Day, and you have
I'm going to
a
sing.
song. Yeah.
Yes, I'm going to recite or sing
By
that poem.
By the time we are waiting for us, Mr. Sharma also.
Okay.
Mr. Sharma is
So I'll
already
repeat.
here.
Okay.
Are you ready, ma'am, or should I go ahead?
No, you go on.
about it, sir. Rajendra Sang.
Okay. It's just a two-liner. It is just like, here in the country's heart, where the grass is green, God comes down in the rain, and the crop grows tall, and the crop grows tall. Here in the country's heart, where the grass is green, God comes down in the rain, and the crop grows all. Yeah, this is just
Sir,
a part
कितना
of, I think,
melodious है. You
some-
can sing so well, sir.
You
You're so
can sing
melodious.
so well. Sir,
Yes.
Yeah,
my
this was out
husband
of
will-
compulsion. I sang long back, and I still remember some lines out of those class 7th. I don't know whether that book is still exists in the classes. It
Wonderful.
was somewhere.
My
maybe
husband
some 15.
would
Yes,
sing
ma'am.
what would be the culmination of Women's Day? So here the camera is to him. Sir, join me here. Pankaj
But we
sir.
have to. But you will join him, ma'am.
Come.
Hello, good evening, everyone.
Let us welcome
evening,
him
sir.
with big round of applause first. Welcome, sir.
मतलब इन्होंने जिंदगी का मूल मंत्र है वो ये गाएंगे अभी जिसके हिसाब से इन्होंने जिंदगी जी है.
मैम ने खुद का ही काम करवा लिया.
इतनी शक्ति हमें देना दाता.
तो तुमको हो पसंद वही बात कहेंगे. दिन को अगर रात को रात कहेंगे. जो तुमको हो पसंद वही बात कहेंगे.
Thank you,
वाह
sir.
सर.
So that was the culmination of Women's Day. Thank you, sir.
That is how men survive.
That is how men survive.
Actually, that is how we are surviving. Thank
no,
you
very
so much,
nice.
sir. Sharma sir.
Same here.
Thank you so much, Sharma sir. Thank you so much, everybody coming over here. Ajendra
you
sir,
very much.
Dogasya
Thank
ma'am, Pratima ma'am, Jaswinder sir, and
Thank
Anuradha ma'am. Thank you so much. I hope you all enjoyed, had a great learning, and hope
Great,
to
sir.
see you in a session very soon. Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Domasya ma'am.
Thank you very much. And
Domasya
thanks a
ma'am.
lot,
Yeah.
everybody.
Do you know Hilowalas?
Namaskar, everyone. It was a pleasure knowing
Yes, I
each
do. They are
other.
my relative.
So please,
Right,
whenever
ma'am.
you come to Jaipur, please
Sure,
come
I
and
will,
visit
ma'am.
our
Yep,
school.
yep, yes.
All
And
of
I'll
you,
also, I will also come, ma'am.
most welcome, sirs, ma'ams.
So all of you are invited to Patan as well, ma'am.
Yes, yes.
Patan
Patan ka patola
Patan is
for
famous
ladies.
historical place in
For those Patola
Gujarat. I'm
sarees.
Patola
sure
saree.
that you must be aware.
Patolas, yes.
Patola sarees.
Patola sarees, and it has come into maybe a national
I know.
news because of this Rani Ki Vav, one of the historical monument being included in 100 rupee new note.
Acha.
Wonderful, sir.
Sir,
If you
actually,
have 100 rupee new note, you will find that Rani Ki Vav from Patan printed on that.
Wonderful,
So
sir.
do
I had
visit,
come to
yes,
Patan.
and
I
it
had
is famous
come
for
to
Patola
Patan.
sarees also.
I had come to Patan when I was in 8th standard to play
Long
kabaddi.
back.
Kabaddi.
Okay, you shared long back. You shared with me once.
Yes, yes.
So do visit once again, ma'am, and
Definitely.
all the other members also.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you, thank
So,
you.
Domasya ma'am, I'm
Thank
very close to Mrs. Hiluwalia and Shiraz.
Okay,
Very close to them. Very
they are my
close to them.
relatives, sir.
Yeah, also nice.
Please call
Parsis,
my-
everybody knows everybody, ma'am. They have to be relatives. So few of them.
The world, in any case, is a small place.
Yes, 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 yes.
See,
Chalo,
I
ma'am,
don't,
yeah.
I don't know Patan. I'll be going or be
Patan,
going to other
Patan,
place.
sir,
Patan,
Patan.
Patan. I'm sorry, sir. I'm sorry. So I'll be going
no
there
problem.
or not. Going there or not. But when we go to Punjab, we move through Ambala. So of course we all are going to Ambala also because ma'am is not inviting. We'll move over there. Aradhana ma'am.
And it's on the
And
highway, ma'am. And
I'll be
Radha
very-
ma'am, it's on the highway. So the moment you cross Ambala going to Chandigarh, Shivalik Public School, I can see that. So I'm
yeah,
going to land up any day.
Devya Kaushik, Masin ma'am, and many principals I know there also. But I'll be coming to your school also, ma'am. If you invite me or not, we'll be coming for sure.
Thank you. Thank you so much,
Okay,
everyone.
thank you so much.
Chalo
Thank
ji.
you so much.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Okay, see. Bye-bye.
Have a great evening, sir.
Thank you, ma'am.
Same
Please.
to you, ma'am.